going on.
And I know I have asteroids in here, but I've been paying a lot more attention. I used to use them more, and I just feel like they're showing up a lot more in my own consciousness lately. So I mean, even Vesta and Juno, and for a while Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio is there, but um I've been also watching Hygeia transiting Gemini too, and wondering what that story is, because Hygeia is, health and the kind of a medical asteroid, if you look at it that way. I mean, these have such rich archetypes. I can't, we're not going to get into it in this, but I was looking too at the new moon opposite Pluto exactly. Because that really is the opposition. It's only a few minutes off of that. So you have the 20th with Mars at the south node, the 23rd Venus square Mars, then and 22nd Sun and Leo, and then 24th is the new moon. And so it's like bam, 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 right there, like you were saying. What do you have to say about this new moon?
Well, I love the new moon that's at the end of June. And so what I'm doing is I put together this like new moon meditation for the one that's happening in June. And when I got to the end of the meditation, I was really thinking about the new moon in July for Leo, because the luminaries only rule one sign. Like the moon rules Cancer, the sun rules Leo. And so but because of that, they kind of feel like they're like step siblings in a way. They're like they're bonded, with because the luminaries only find domicile in one place. And so I was thinking about this new moon, and what I'm choosing to do is to have this new moon be a continuation of the new moon that happens in Cancer. So whatever story is happening in Cancer, kind of feeding it over into the story that will then be continued or lily padded for the one in Leo. Not that, you shouldn't do something unique and special for the new moon in Leo, but it just feels like they're bonded in that way. And it might just be that Mercury retrograde that's kind of going back, in the Leo house. It just feels like it's more of a retrospective new moon. And so, yeah, I'm using it, but as like kind of a doubled moon. And also like when the moon is full, when the sun is in either of the signs, the moon is full in a Saturn sign, and Saturn is having moved into Aries, and it's conjoined Neptune. It just feels like there's such a Saturn tone to the summer, Saturn squaring that Jupiter and all that, that I've kind of like the Cancer Leo houses for me they're like was it when you're on a school trip, you have like your little buddy, like I'm responsible for you, you're responsible for me. And that's kind of how I'm like bonding the Cancer Leo. I also think that there's trauma from the Mars retrograde that the Leo and Cancer houses still have with each other. And so a long-winded answer to that question is I'm looking at this new moon as like a second phase of the Cancer new moon, just because there's so much similarity in the conflict that both of those houses have been through together, and then are also dealing with. Cancer's got the square from Saturn, and then Leo has the opposition from Pluto.
Yeah, and moon being trine Saturn, it's even more Saturn tone to it. The opposition here, I can't draw a straight line, but that does feel like that was a funky opposition, wasn't it? It may be
it's like
it was. It's like being aware of the fact you need to empower yourself in a place, and what are you going to do about it in the other spot. I feel like Pluto and Aquarius is like, that's where we need to be empowered, and where we also need to work with ideas of transformation and maybe what we're burying deep down, but the opposite sign, Leo, is so bright and so illuminated. And so to have this be like, okay, well, in order to do something in that area, I have to change this area. And Saturn's helping me do that, right? So, and I can see how that works in everyone's chart. Uranus is helping me do that. There's lots of positives to this new moon with regard to, depending on how you look at Saturn, as only malefic or as structural and integrity and things of that nature. So it's, we need to redo this area. But we may be rethinking or redoing something in the Aries area as well. And then definitely Uranus and Gemini changing things up. It's almost like, yeah, we got to do something about this, you know.
Mhm.
That's what it
What
feels.
also comes up is like the idea of with any sort of groups of people. So if we look at Pluto and Aquarius as like groups, like the larger collective, there's a lot of peer pressure that can come from having an opinion that the group agrees with.
Mm,
And even if you like on paper think, I generally believe the same that you believe, but I don't believe exactly what you believe. Like it really got on my nerves. And I understood the intention. Everybody had the sign, like in this house, we believe blah, 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 blah. And on paper, like, yes, I do agree on those things, but having like this collective thought that unless you agree with everything that I agree with, then you are outside of this political movement or outside of this social group or outside of this religion or whatever. I think being so precious with you can disagree on things and still be a part of the collective effort. And I like a Leo new moon with a retrograde Mercury being pretty close to be like, be strong in your convictions of what you believe. And you may find yourself in opposition from this. I mean, I hate using like right thought because everybody disagrees on something, but there can be this like peer pressure of you have to agree on this litmus of all of what the progressive agenda is or the Christian agenda is, or you have to have this like uniform of ideas in order to like be a part of the group. And I just think that we just shoot ourselves in the foot when we don't allow nuance, that there are multiple ways to look at issues. And I think you can find clarity and be helpful in collective efforts if you have a good, authentic core of exactly you believe things. It's like, raising a child, we're both moms, and it's important that my child discern why he has beliefs, not because I have them, but
mm,
because he has the capacity to think through and be problem solving and also believe it in an emotional way in his core. And teaching him that to me feels like the best thing a parent can do is like give him the tools to figure this out when I'm not around to give him his ideas. Because if you just absorb an idea from someone else without doing the emotional work and the truth, like the truth of fire signs is so beautiful. Fire just illuminates truth, and being authentic to that, I think that new moon might be you might be challenged, I guess, during
mm-hmm.
that new moon because of the opposition to Pluto to really sit in the dark and be like, you know what? I may not agree with this group on so many things, but I agree with them on this one thing. But that doesn't mean that I'm antithetical to all of the other things that I align
Right.
myself with. You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
think we can think about it in political ways, but it can be other ways too. Like I'm a crunchy hippie. Like I work in the supplement industry. But every once in a while, like I buy Coca-Cola. Like who gives a fuck? Like that doesn't mean that I also don't take herbs and eat organic and like compost at my house. Like I can have these things that are conflicting. That's like a very petty example, but it can be that like you can be multifaceted, and it doesn't negate the idealism that you hold if you agree with someone that you previously would disagree with on every other subject. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I love that view. I love it. It screams Pluto and Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm to me like I'm looking at that day just for that opposition to Pluto. I'm always really curious for harsh aspects to Pluto, even though it's the outer planet that moves the slowest, that we kind of track, but it's so potent.
Mm-hmm.
It's impotent. It's so like rich with power,
Yeah.
that I'm always curious, especially because we're really experiencing this Pluto and Aquarius for our lifetime. We're discovering what this means, and the Sun opposite Pluto. We look at solar figures, and we look at is there challenges to that? Is there challenge to authority? Is there challenge to authority in our own life? And we look at father figures, with the Sun being typically related to that masculine yang energy, so just collectively, are we looking at patriarchy? Are we looking at, figures in business or political leaders? Like I look at that, look at generationally, like the Pluto and Leo generation, the baby boomers, like them being challenged by this, the new ways of thought, I mean, just like the challenges of like boomers being unable to identify AI images to me is like
Oh yeah.
troublesome. It's like, and then, are we unable to discern like, or do we think everything is AI and not really believe what's actually filmed? Like, I think that can be part of that tension.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And Neptune and Aries, I mean, they're making Neptune and Saturn are making the sextile to Uranus and Gemini too. So it definitely feels like lots of topsy-turvy things turn on their heads,
yeah.
not necessarily, getting it. And I think that your assessment is right. And that is I guess that I think that's going to be a big one this month at this new moon. It's like the full moon in Capricorn is just much more, it's got ambiance or something. This one's more like I don't know, it kind of is hitting you square in the face with something. So and then the next thing is the 30th. So that's kind of going to dominate the space for a minute until
Yeah.
something changes.
It's funny, both of the moons kind of do that. Like the lunation
Yeah,
happens, and then we have like a descent from it. Like, how
that's
do
true.
we how do we integrate that into
Yeah.
into the week?
Yeah.
I will say I'm very excited for the 30th for Venus to go into Cancer.
Yay. I'm
That's my
excited about that
natal
too.
Venus, and my natal Venus is at 0 degrees 2 minutes. So it's like right on that day on the 30th, to have a Venus return. I heart Venus and Cancer to
Yeah,
100%.
but back to back too, having two really neat things, the Cazimi and Venus in Cancer. I think that's really cool. I'll take a look at that.
Also, I feel like it sets us up for August. There's some like pretty juicy things happening in August, and that I like that 30th and 31st almost like being the beginning of August. Really, it
yeah,
feels more aligned with some of the. I mean, there's other things happening in August, not just the juicy ones,
sure.
but it almost feels like July 30th and 31st are kind of be like in the August calendar. I think maybe when we do August, we should start with the 30th of July just to start there and kind of set the mood.
I agree. Venus. Oh, I was supposed to pull up Venus in Cancer. Exactly. There we go. 10:57 p.m. Well, Central Time. So that's midnight for you, or
Yeah.
close to midnight.
And Saturn and Neptune are right on top of each other.
I know. I know. I mean,
Squaring that, but whatever.
yeah, I guess it just depends on, it's almost like how Jupiter had to escape that square a little bit. Venus, encounters it,
Mm-hmm.
but Venus has I think well, it's in mutual reception with the moon in Libra. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. Even though they're square signs, they're still in mutual reception.
Yeah.
And it has the help of Jupiter too in Cancer. So it's almost like Venus and Jupiter are kind of winning this one. It's how
Mm-hmm.
it feels.
Yeah,
So
because Saturn and Neptune are retrograde. Yeah,
mhm,
and Venus, I feel like Venus charms Saturn and Neptune in that way. Um, she's forward, she's not going to go retrograde for a while, so she's got some good speed. She's not going to spend that much time. Like we looked, Venus went into Gemini on the 4th and
mhm.
is already in Cancer,
Moving
so that was like
fast.
3.5 weeks. And so she's going to go through Cancer pretty quickly too.
That's right. And I mean, you'll even have a trine from the moon, granted the moon in Scorpio, but you'll have a trine from the moon almost immediately as well once
Mhm.
the moon moves into Scorpio. When is that? Let's see, that is
Like
very
12
close to
hours
the
later. Yeah.
Cazimi. Yeah. I mean, you do have it squaring Pluto, but that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, just taking a look at what this end of the month stuff might feel like, because it's like there's stress present, but Venus knows how to direct us to self-care and to the things. That matter the most.
Hmm.
Um, and Mercury retrograde to a certain extent, because even Mars is answering to that, Uranus is answering to that, and it's going Cazimi. So there's like just these little moments of, I know that may be going on. I know that that's there, but I know how to take care of myself, and I know what's important right now,
Hmm.
kind of type shit. The Cazimi, I mean, the Venus ingress is a harbinger for the luckiest day of the year, which I'm really excited about. So I call it the luckiest day of the year, Venus Jupiter conjunction in August, and that's going to be really nice. So Venus in Cancer is just going to be like, okay, we're on the way to that, and I think that's really great. And then the Cazimi is at 9 degrees. Let me get that up because I'm looking forward to this for personal reasons, I have to say, but also because I think this message with the sun in its own sign is going to be very powerful. Plus all the new moons that we had at 9 degrees for the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And just the 9th degree is screaming at me. It's also my Saturn degree. So 83 babies, pay attention. Yeah, I think it's funny that the moon is in Scorpio, though. Of course, it's going to square it. But it's in Venus's. Oh my gosh, it's 9 degrees 0 minutes exactly.
Yeah. Just seeing that. I mean, I like this Cazimi. It's an inferior conjunction because Mercury is going backwards, right? And when it Cazimis again, it'll be in Virgo, where Mercury is exalted and at home, and that'll be that fresh renewal. And so, like talking about like speaking from an authentic place and identifying kind of are you acting from that core? Are you acting from that heart center? I like having Venus in a water sign and that emotional realm sign connected to the moon. With when that Cazimi happens, because I feel like there's going to be just like really the sun can be harsh, the sun can burn, the sun can illuminate, it can burn away. And to have Mercury come in there and be like, okay, what's the heart of the matter, while Venus is at like what's like the soul of the matter. Having those two, having the luminary houses, like have these kind of auspicious transits happen a day apart.
Yes.
Before we get into the sun, like we're in the sun season, but in August when like things really come into the sun season. I mean, I like Cazimis, and this Mercury Cazimi on this way, it's like it will then weave the Leo and Virgo houses together because the next time it happens will be at Virgo. Can you look to see when that is? Is that
when the Cazimi and Virgo is?
The next Cazimi is
September 13th.
Right. So that's in between the eclipses too.
Yes, and it's it's very close to where Mars hit the south node too.
At 19.
There's lots of things there. I wanted to show you the Sabian symbol for this because I was like, ooh. Because when it's at exactly a degree and 0 minutes, you're supposed to read for that degree. And it's glass blowers shaped beautiful vases with their controlled breathing. I was like, oh, I love that.
With fire and air. Yeah.
The need to involve one's most spiritual and vital energies in the creative act if it is to produce significant and beautiful new forms. So
creative intensity.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great, especially considering, like you said, it's the inferior, and it is meant to be, I think, introspective, and it's meant to be about, I mean, Leo is a self kind of sign, and like you said, it's heart-centered self, but that is your creativity. That is what you love to do, what brings you joy, what's fun, what's play, so, and I think that may be one of the more rebellious acts you could do right now.
To create. Yeah,
I really do. I think that's the way to approach this Cazimi, and having Venus in Cancer too, I think it's just going to vibe really, really good around that day. Yes, with the square to Saturn, yes, there's that, but I mean, like I said, Venus is always that cooling salve, so it's almost like like if you put a bandage on a burn, if you think of Saturn and Aries and Neptune and Aries kind of like a burn, and you put a bandage on it, at first it stings just a little, but it's going to make it feel better. It's going to protect it, won't get infected. And that's the square of Venus to me, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I used to work at a bakery, and we had this blend, if you got burned by the oven, because everybody got burned by the oven, it was aloe and lavender because the lavender sucks the burn out. Like if you
Mm.
put aloe on a burn or aloe that has lavender in it, it's almost like it just that healing power of the flowers just like pulls the burn off of the nerves. It's really magical, and it's like something as subtle as like a beautiful scented flower of lavender, but that is like this great antidote to like this
Mhm.
singeing fire burn. And so it's like, look at the burned place in your Aries house and what kind of beautiful flowers, what intensive creative, idea can you come that inspires you to like find that combination, find that alchemy to like soothe it. And end of July in the northern hemisphere, it is hot. It is hot, hot, hot. I mean, it's hot now, and
Yeah.
we're a month away from it. And
Yep.
I mean, I wonder about just like weather. I know that you kind of geek out on astro weather,
Hmm.
literally like the weather. Like I wonder what kind of weather we're going to have,
Hmm.
and preparing for like cooling things. Like lemon is heating, but lime is cooling. Like make sure you
Hmm.
have more limes in your life and less lemons to like pull that heat away and like cool off and enjoy, you know,
Hmm.
mojitos as opposed
Mojitos.
to margaritas. Like just that simple thing,
Yeah.
of like playing with the food and the socialness and the lovingness of that Venus. Venus is in the bounds of Mars, but it's in the decan of Venus. That first
Hmm.
10 degrees of Cancer, it's the Lord of love. So it is such a lovely place for Venus to be, that I think that she's going to kind of tame that fiery beast of that retrograde Saturn,
Yeah.
um, that's over there in
Yeah.
Aries. It's going to back away, and then there will be like we're talking about the square from Saturn to Jupiter, but when Neptune and Saturn go into Pisces, what's September
Hmm.
1st, when it goes in,
Hmm.
it's going to trine it. So it will.
Hmm.
We're dealing with these squares, but then we're just going to have trines. We're going to have trines from Jupiter to Cancer, and then we're going to have trines from Aries to Leo next year. So this really is we're the Saturn Jupiter square, at least we're
Yeah.
already past it. At this point,
Hmm.
it's just separating, and then it's just going to be that supportive place. So
Hmm. I agree. I mean, we even have the trine of Mars to Pluto and Uranus coming up very soon, and it's opposition
mhm.
to Saturn. And that's, not far into August, just as a little sneak preview. So
Yeah,
there's that. There's yeah, when Saturn moves back in. And then of course there's these days when the moon moves into Pisces and Mercury's direct on August 11th and Venus and Jupiter together. And this whole August 10th, 11th, especially after Mercury goes direct, is a really good,
mm-hmm.
goes direct at 2:29 a.m. August 11th Central Time. So basically when you get Monday morning, it's auspicious. It's like, and I think you could even use the Mercury retrograde there, the station, I mean, as some sort of elective something, I just don't,
Mm.
haven't quite tuned into it yet, but I love this date, August 11th.
Yeah, with the moon and Pisces and Venus and Jupiter coming together, and that direct Mercury now determined to go through the cazimi again,
Hmm.
the trine from Mars to Pluto to Uranus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly, and I've already talked to like several musicians. I'm like, release, it's a good release date, it's a good release date, do it. So I'm trying to get our album done, Love Rat album on a Love Rat day.
hmm
That's what it feels like. um
Speaking of
because
August, you want
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
send the invite out to folks? We
Yes,
joked around about like having a live audience,
we did, and I
so
think
we
we should.
will.
Yes, I mean, especially Leo being what it is, and I know that I should be doing more Leo like things with my own life. So I think you probably feel the same way. And we need to be in front of people, and maybe even they could say, ask questions or send chats if we're good enough to juggle that. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. So the invite is to, if you want to be a part of the forecast for August, we're going to record in the end of July. And if you want, just email, I guess you can email me practicalastros@gmail and just say, hey, I want to be an audience member. We're going to record it on Zoom. And then, yeah, we'll have the chat open. We can answer questions as we go along. Just, you won't be on camera, but you'll just have to, if you want to be a part of it and you want your questions to be a part of it. Because, well, if you're going to ask a question, we're going to answer it. It's going to be on the video. So
That's right.
yeah, if you want to be an audience member, just come on down. Like Bob Barker,
Yeah.
just come on down.
Yeah. It'll probably be after July 22nd. We just don't know the exact date yet, but I'm sure we'll do a graphic and post it or something to let people know. Because that will be fun. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Any other thing coming up? Yes, we have Ask workshop for the eclipse coming up in September. That also will be publicized at some point.
Yeah.
We picked a date, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. Because the eclipses are happening again 6 months later, we still have eclipses to work with. This is going to be the only North Node full moon lunar eclipse that we have in Pisces
for the cycle. Yeah,
for the whole thing. So I think it's they all have a little bit different flavor and they're all interconnected. And if you were there or not, we could reflect also back on what we were talking about before and look forward. So that's going to be fun. That's with the Ask Collective. And yeah, I'm Mandi with Ecstatic Astrology.
And Mandi is open for readings.
I am open for readings. Wide open. So y'all holler at me, ecstaticastrology.com or any socials. You can do it that way too. And Christa's open for readings too.
I'm open for readings too. I'm going to be on vacation during like the craziness of July. So my calendar is a little blocked off, but I do tarot readings kind of on the fly. So if you're in desperate need, my tarot calendar is always open because I always have a tarot deck near me and I can do that. But yeah, open for readings. And I'm doing a lot of writing on Substack, doing the YouTubes, and just creating a lot of astrology adjacent content. I hate the word content, but I have not figured out a better word. It's creations, it's projects, it's art projects, it's shit that I make with my mouth and my hands.
That's right.
And my mind and my heart. And sometimes the post office. You know, I have a real life letter campaign called Selena Dromion that's been really, it's a labor of love that I actually really, really do like making. I made, some right here, some little matchbooks and I sent and did like,
love it.
Just made little ones. My favorite one that says as above, so ablaze because it's matchbooks. But yeah, just follow us on socials and you'll figure it out.
That's right. And also check out the Ask Collective. That's a bunch of us doing that together. So there's lots of things to check out, and please like, comment, share, subscribe.
Yep.
Right.
It's free to subscribe both of our channels. It doesn't cost you anything. And it puts us into it, kind of like the way I imagine it is it like pushes our boat into the algorithm sea so that other people have access to this astrology, to our sordid senses of humor, to the information that we're sharing. And yeah, it's like a collective effort. So we appreciate all the engagement.
That's right. Happy July.
Happy July. Good luck.